Coming up on No Pulp, we'll tell you one of the hottest topics in college basketball this week, and it involves a player standing on a scorer's table.
I'm going to have to stand on a box when I go against Liam Griffin in the juicer.
That's right.
Back, but he's not coming back with a
We'll
win.
also play a fun game of Mad Libs, and we'll tell you the plays of the week and a whole lot more. This is No Pulp, and it starts right now.
Kansas State has been on fire this year.
Missouri is one of the most fraudulent teams in college basketball.
And it was fired.
They're not going to fire him. He's the best player in program history.
Side to Lawrence for the win. Yes, he got it.
She is the Shohei Ohtani of college softball. This is a team that's potentially going to be a top 10 team in the country.
How you feeling?
I'm excited to win the juicer.
LSU has captured its very first national championship.
Welcome into the CitrusTV studios. I'm Andrew Selover with Ian Nicholas, and this is No Pulp, breaking down all the best action across college athletics over the last week. Sadly, I can't be excited to win the juicer today, though, Ian.
No, I mean, technically he should be on because he rigged it last time and had me losing to Carson Fowler.
I don't rig the juicer.
I'm going to have to get back today against Liam Griffin.
Fair contest coming up against Mr. Griffin shortly. But first we got to talk about college basketball and what went down this week. And we start down in Cameron Indoor in Durham, North Carolina. A big-time upset this week. Pittsburgh takes down number 7 Duke by 4 on the road. And this was a game that really had it all, but at the root of this contest, a win for the Panthers on the road, was one man and one man only. And that was Blake Hinson, who had himself a day.
Blake Himson,
that's
you should
right,
be saying.
Blake Himson down in Cameron Indoor because he put on a heck of a performance. And at the end of all of this, after going 7 of 7 from the three-point line, Blake Hinson, well, he went and stood on the scorer's table in the face of all the Cameron crazies. You like it, Ian?
Oh, I love it. You know, Blake Hinson is the guy at the Y who shoots all the crazy step-back three-point shots. And you're like, no, don't. Oh, it went in. So they're riding or dying with a player that is electric, and that was an electric moment. Probably the most electric moment for Pitt basketball in decades. They haven't won at Cameron Indoor since 1979. So do I mind that he went full on, this is my moment, my time to shine? He said it after the game, Andrew. This was their Mount Everest. They climbed Mount Everest. They got over the top, and after a 1-5 start to ACC play, I love what Blake Hinson did. 24
points. He was the star of the show, and he made sure that everybody knew about it after the game. And one guy that didn't like that, well, that was center Kyle Filipowski for the Blue Devils. Take a listen.
You know, they played a really good game, and of course, you know, whoever comes into Cameron, they're gonna see this as their championship. You know, and it was really disrespectful what they did. So, you know, we're gonna have to take that with a grain of salt, and you know, remember that for next time whenever anyone steps in the building again.
Those are some bold words, Ian.
Well, first of all, no offense to Kyle Filipowski. I'm not really questioning his intelligence, but he said in the same kind of statement, we have to put a grain of salt into this, but also every single time somebody else comes to Cameron Indoor, we have to remember this, which are two contradictory statements. So, Kyle, I think you have to look up what putting, what that expression means. But really, what I know you meant from that is you're Charmin soft. You are Grayson Allen. You are a carbon copy of every Duke star that has ever existed. This team is soft. He is soft. And they're not going to compete for a national championship this year if you're losing multiple games at home to NCAA tournament teams that aren't going to the NCAA tournament. Pitt is not going to the tourney. Georgia Tech's not going to the tourney. You've lost to both of them, one on the road, one at home. This is just soft from Duke.
I think it's a little unfair to call everyone at Duke soft because Filipowski's head coach John Shire had some differing thoughts than what Filipowski had to say after the game.
I want to apologize to our fans too, by the way. You know, what happened at the end, and that can't happen. And that's on us, and that's unacceptable.
So that's something that is just completely differing. I mean, you got to talk that out. I mean, we can't have differing opinions.
So just because he apologized for a flat performance from his team doesn't make his team soft?
No, I'm saying that his team might be soft, but you can't have a player coming and saying one thing and a coach saying the other. I like taking the accountability for this, taking the accountability.
But what are you supposed to say? Pitt is not as good a team as you. I don't care if Jeremy Roach or Mark Mitchell wasn't playing. You fell behind by double digits early. You got beat in the paint. You turned the ball over a ton. You can apologize all you want. That doesn't change the fact that I think this loss shows there are a lot of cracks in the armor for Duke.
I don't disagree, but which reaction do you like better?
I don't think either reaction matters at all. Who cares that John? This is the week of head coaches apologizing for things. Out of all the apologies I've heard this week, congratulations, John Shire. Yours is the best. Your team still has major issues, though.
Yeah, I agree. And I support what Blake Hinson did.
You do?
I do. I know that
didn't see this coming
I
from
know
Andrew.
that comes at a bit of a shock. But if you go into Cameron and shoot 7 of 7 from 3, then you can act like it.
And the Cameron crazies are crazy. They got scouting reports on every player. They're mocking him for playing Call of Duty. They're mocking him for transferring to like 3 different teams. I don't mind this at all.
I would mind it if you do it during the game.
Yes.
If you start talking trash, which he did a little bit, he was getting close to the line. But after the game, when you put on that performance, go talk.
This is his Super Bowl.
Yep.
Is it going to be Duke's downfall? We're going to have to see.
That's right.
More off-the-court antics, well, technically on-the-court antics, just after the buzzer sounded, against Ohio State and Iowa women's basketball. 18,000 packed for the Buckeyes to pick up a home win against Caitlin Clark and the Hawkeyes, who were the number 2 team in the country. But the attention shifted to what happened after the game, Andrew. Another court storming incident where Caitlin Clark just ran straight into a brick wall of an Ohio State fan who was, selfieing herself and had no idea that the best player in the game was running straight towards her.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of a shame, Ian, that happened at the end of this great basketball game that went to overtime, and you had an awesome fan environment.
Big comeback for Ohio State.
Exactly. 18,000 in the building to watch. And Caitlin Clark, what she's done to draw those crowds, that's also really impressive.
She sold out every road venue she's been at this year.
Exactly. But it's a little bit of a shame that this had to tint that. But still, I mean, it's, you got to protect the players a little bit. Some people said she flopped a little bit.
The game went to overtime. You should have known. The security staff had to be ready, especially to protect her.
And it wasn't like it was a buzzer beater. I mean, they won by 8 in overtime. So you
Caitlin
knew it was
Clark had
coming.
no support from her team in overtime. It was an Ohio State win for days.
Yeah, but still 45 points for Caitlin Clark. I think that's something that you can talk about Ohio State whatever you want. You can talk about the storming of the court, and Caitlin Clark at the end of the day is going to be okay, and she's going to keep playing. 45 points, I mean, everybody knows it's coming, and they still can't stop it. That's what impresses me most about what she's doing right now, is usually when you know a player is that good, you can double team, you can force them to 40 feet away from the bucket, nobody can stop her.
But that didn't matter. An Ohio State team that, yes, now has won 5.
She needs some help.
She needs some help.
Yeah.
Hannah Stokey, their best big, was coming off an injury. She shot really tough in this game. I don't know if this means a whole lot for Iowa. The only other loss they had this year, Kansas State early in the year. After that, they ripped off 10 wins in a row, so I think the Hawkeyes are going to be fine.
Buckeyes came back to win it from trailing double digits. Another team that had a monumental comeback. Well, that was a team taking on Memphis, and that's UCF. Comes back from 20 points down to win by 1. What's going on right now with the Tigers? I mean, they were sitting pretty, came into the week top 20, and all of a sudden, I mean, things are starting to fall apart after you blow a 20-point lead to lose by 1.
You know what's crazy? After losing not only to unranked USF and unranked Tulane, after the game, Penny Hardaway, who was coaching the 10th best team in the country, according to the AP poll, said, this team has always, to me, my Memphis Tigers team, has always been a first 4 out or a first 4 in team. What are you talking about? Are you lowering the standard for your team in the middle of the year because you've run into a bit of a snafu? I honestly think the standard should have never been this high for Memphis, Andrew, because you look at all of those big wins that they had early on in the year, none of the teams that they beat in December or November are still ranked. So I just don't think this is a very good team.
Yeah, but you can't say that. I mean, and then
you just agreed with me, and now you're saying I can't say that.
No, I'm saying as a coach you can't say that.
Right. I think Penny Hardaway is one of the most overrated coaches in the sport.
I mean, that feels like a bit of a wild shot right there.
Why? He recruits the best talent.
What do you expect Memphis to be?
He had a great transfer class. He can't put the pieces together.
What do you expect Memphis to be, like a top 10 team here?
They were a top 10 team.
I mean, come on. Memphis as a program, I don't think you can do much better as opposed to Penny Hardaway as your coach. You're not going to get rid of him to get somebody else.
I understand, but given what they have, I don't believe he's doing enough with what they have. And these last 2 games have showed it. But the last game we're going to talk about early on in this show, we return of a women's game. We talk about a top 10 clash. Pac-12, talked about it in our webisode with Tara Vanderveer, but we're not talking Stanford. We're talking USC and Colorado. The Buffs winning big against Juju Watkins and the Trojans. Where do you think the Pac-12 stands after this game? And is Colorado clearly the best team in that conference?
Go Buffs, baby,
Right.
because they dominated the glass in this game. Won on the rebounding battle by 10. Quay Miller's been unbelievable so far for
19
Colorado.
and 10. Good
19 and 10, 7 double-doubles this season. I don't know that you would say Colorado is clear a front runner. They should win this conference. It's a deep conference. You got Stanford.
UCLA, number 2 in the country.
Exactly. Stanford's a top 10 team. So I think Pac-12, ACC, the 2 best conferences in women's college basketball. But I do think Colorado has the pieces to get it done. I think this could be a Final Four team.
Jalen Sherrod's a great point guard. I mean, her numbers don't pop off the page, but the thing I find with the best teams in women's college basketball, they usually don't have that one player averaging 20 and 10. They need a team, and they have a team around Sherrod. But we got to give her credit. Averaging 14, 5, and 2 on the year. That's 2 steals a game. I really like this Colorado team. But I kind of agree with you. You don't know what's going to happen in this conference with USC, UCLA, Colorado, and Stanford. Any of them can be anybody on any given night in that conference.
Yeah, a lot of unpredictability out there on the West Coast. West Coast, best coast, some would say. In
Conference
women's
of champions, they would
That's
say.
right. Bill Walton would definitely say that. But we've got something to be predicted coming up, and that's the juicer. Who's going to win? Liam Griffin, Ian Nicholas? You got to stick around after this to find out. A duel you do not want to miss on No Pull.
I see you mobbing over her. Let's go. Let's mob. Let's crawl. Let's crawl. Let's crawl. Hey, yo, we mobbing. Come on, girl. Let's crawl. Hey, yo, let's crawl. Hey, yo, let's crawl. Hey, let's crawl. Hey, yo, let's crawl.
Welcome back. It's the juicer. You stuck around just for this. You don't want to miss it. Liam Griffin, Ian Nicholas, squaring off. Oh,
What was that? Like a little cat
I
thing?
mean, if you want it to be like that, we can make it like that.
Because you're a scaredy cat, right?
Oh, right.
Liam, any early thoughts here? You think you're winning?
We'll see what happens.
right, so
I like to keep it humble. We'll see what
Brimming
happens.
with confidence,
Okay.
and that's not true.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it. 3 questions, each worth 1 point at the end of this. Well, if you got 2 points, you're taking home the title, I'll tell you that much. Ian, we'll go to you first. College basketball's always got upsets. This week had its fair share of them.
Crazy. Yeah.
That's right. What was the most impactful upset on the men's side in college basketball this week?
Would you say, Liam, it's good for a team to be a 1 seed headed into March Madness?
Doesn't matter anymore.
Okay, cop out per Liam
Cop out
Griffin's
my behind.
standards.
Cop out my behind.
I'm good, thank
Please
you.
stop.
Kansas, the number 3 team in the country, just lost to West Virginia. Yes, it was on the road, but the country roads have not been tough to win at this year. So this is easily got to be Kansas, because now John Rothstein agrees this might not be a 1 seed. And I think that because they've got legitimate issues defensively, and they were supposed to be riding on their defense, and offensively, you never know what you're getting, especially from Hunter Dickinson. Give me Jesse Edwards over Hunter Dickinson all day, every day, because he's just a team player, and Hunter Dickinson's a wild card. You never know what you're going to get from him, especially defensively. All he is a big body, and I think Bill Self has some issues he's really got to work out, or else his team's in jeopardy in March.
Jesse Edwards didn't even play, which might make your answer even stronger. Liam?
Well, Ian, the question is not what was the biggest upset of the week. The question is what was the most impactful upset of the week. Kansas is still going to be a high seed, and West Virginia is still going to finish sub 500. New Mexico topping Utah State out in the Mountain West certainly changes the NCAA tournament picture quite a lot.
Yeah,
One from
everyone cares about how deep they're going.
Let me finish. One, from a Mountain West perspective, that conference had 4 teams entering bracketology, New Mexico being the first team out. They're going to get into the tournament now. You're talking about a conference that has the same number of bids as the Pac-12, more than the ACC, and not only did that put the conference on the map, it puts New Mexico on the map, a true bubble team, something West Virginia is not.
Let's speed it up here. I've got a question for you, Liam.
Fire away.
How would you define an upset?
An unranked team beating a ranked team.
No, I think that's wrong. An upset would be someone who's not favored beating someone who is favored. And I'll tell you one thing. New Mexico was favored by 5 points in that game.
You're following gambling lines?
That is no upset to me. Ian wins point number 1 in the juice.
Yeah, real impactful when Kansas is
cut
still going to be high seed.
Don't talk to your host like that, please.
Oh, no.
What men's basketball powerhouse has taken the biggest fall from grace this year, Liam?
Well, hopefully I'm not falling from grace in this question. The answer is Gonzaga, coming into the team as just inside the top 15, and they have gone to pieces. You have
I get what you did there.
Thank you. You have a program, Ian, that typically front loads its schedule, given the weak West Coast Conference they play in, and lost to Washington on the road, couldn't hang with Purdue or UConn. Also lost to San Diego State, and then lost to Santa Clara on the road. And they're playing in a West Coast Conference, Ian, that is weaker than years past.
That's a great St. Mary's team out there.
With BYU going from the West Coast Conference to the Big 12. This Gonzaga team does not have a stud like a Kelly Olynyk or a Drew Timme in years past. Just not the same program anymore.
Yeah. Kelly Olynyk, okay, Mr. Boston Celtic just had to work him.
He hasn't been in Boston in 7 years.
Who's your pick?
Gonzaga is going to be just fine. It's a down year for them, but they're going to be just fine. Eric Musselman can take off all the pieces of clothing that he wants, but it doesn't matter because his team stinks.
We've lost it on this
Oh
show.
my goodness. This team is the worst team in the SEC. They've lost bad games in the non-conference. They're not winning any games in their conference. Liam, this is a non-competitive basketball team that was ranked in the top 15 in the preseason. And they're an NCAA tournament team every year.
The question is powerhouse, for the record. Is Arkansas a powerhouse?
Yeah, thank you for not reading the right question on answer 1 and now defining what a powerhouse is to Ian. I will say, Gonzaga not going to be just fine. They're projected out of the tournament right now. And Arkansas not a powerhouse. So that means point number 2 goes to Mr. Griffin. We're tied at 1 apiece.
I believe it marks you. You don't.
Okay. We're tied at 1 apiece here on the Juicer. Ian, we go back to you. Question number 3, must have it to win. Who had the most impressive performance this week in women's college basketball?
I'm going to the home court.
Oh, wow.
Deasia Fair was, as the great Calvin Cristoforo once said, unfair in one of the biggest games in women's college basketball this week. A Syracuse program record, 9 triples, including one from at least 30 to 35 feet out. Some would say she has unlimited range. And this game proved it. Season high 31 points, put the team on her back, and more impressive, Liam, an 18-point second half comeback to put Syracuse at the top of the ACC standings in the second year of a Felicia Leggett-Jack era. She did it against a great team, and she was the best player on the floor.
Liam.
And I don't know when your first name became Homer and your last name became Simpson. Also, it may surprise you to know there is more to basketball than just scoring, and that is something Hannah Hidalgo did very well for Notre Dame when it took down Virginia. I know
that's a great Virginia team.
Let me finish. I know the Cavaliers aren't a great opponent, but Hidalgo still scored 23 points while finding ways to impact on other parts of the court. 9 assists, 6 steals, 5 rebounds, doing it all while still having a big scoring presence in. And you talk about that comeback. You don't come back by yourself. Hannah Hidalgo had Notre Dame in a comfortable position to win the whole game.
All right.
Against a bad team.
Okay.
Which you already admitted.
It's ACC. It wins a win.
And that's enough. It's time to find a winner. Liam, I've got bad news for you. Hidalgo averages like 23 points a game.
Okay.
25.
That's just an average night for Hannah Hidalgo. Deasia Fair setting records. Ian Nicholas putting the name in the history books. A winner, 2-1 in the Juicer. Liam's mad. That means it's time to send it to break. We'll be back in just a few minutes here on No Pulp. Stay with us.
If you love them enough to crawl into a play place to get them to come down, then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the-right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
Here we go. We're gonna go out there in the rain. Gonna get wet. All right, here we go. Okay, quick. Oh yeah, yes. So much fun. Mwah. We're getting so wet.
Welcome back to No Pulp. Ian Nicholas, the Juicer winner, alongside a great host of Juicer, and Andrew Selover.
I appreciate that.
Time to play another game. Andrew, you ever play Mad Libs growing up?
I did. I like games.
You are creative. You are smart. So I'm hoping you're witty here.
Had to go into the dictionary for this.
Right.
Thesaurus.
Let's start. Seton Hall playing Creighton. Went to triple overtime. Big East clash. What's your word for this game?
I would call this game important because these are two teams that are really, battling it back and forth for NCAA tournament seeds. And a win like that or a loss like that, and they don't care how close it is, that really matters when it comes to tournament time. Creighton moving up, Seton Hall moving down in the bracketologist's mind.
For me, this game was nostalgic, especially as I've been called Homer Simpson already on this piece of programming. For Syracuse, you wish Syracuse was still in the Big East after a game like this, a classic. And you wish, if you were Adrian Autry, you still had Kadari Richmond. A triple-double? He could be the Big East Player of the Year. He could be on Syracuse. But now he's playing in a better conference with a better team.
That's right. For number 2 here in our Mad Libs, we go to Texas. Rodney Terry, well, he had some interesting comments after his team lost to UCF. Bunch of players putting horns down in the handshake line. He called it a joke. He said, don't act like you're winning a national championship, jumping up and down. And then his team wins at the horn against Baylor, and what's he do? He celebrates like he wins a national championship. Your thoughts on Rodney Terry?
You kind of just took the words right out of my mouth. His words were hypocritical this week. That's the word I would insert into this conversation. Rodney, you said you can't act like you're winning a national championship when you lose to UCF, who's not a bad team in the Big 12, by the way, now. And then what do? You're playing a slumping Baylor team, you beat them at the horn, and you look like a little kid celebrating his 5th birthday and Elmo just arrived. You're a clown. You're a clown at a birthday party, Rodney Terry, and you are hypocritical.
I said it's funny, Ian, because I think it's an absolute joke what Rodney Terry is doing at Texas. Just because he had one good year as an interim head coach, they said, let's hire this guy. And boy, is he turning the Longhorns into a joke of a basketball program.
Unranked for the first time in years, and that Baylor win doesn't do a whole lot for them. But let's go from the Big 12 to the ACC for our final Mad Lib. This conference looks as weak as ever, Andrew, in the men's basketball field. Only a few teams look like they'll make the NCAA tournament after a couple of tough upsets this week, highlighted by Duke against Pitt. What is your word to describe the ACC's performance?
I went deep into that big dictionary and found the word cannibalizing because the ACC is eating itself apart right now.
That's disgusting.
Only projected 4 teams into the tournament. Duke and Carolina really the only 2 comfortably. Clemson as a 7 seed right now. Wake Forest, the second to last team in. This conference might only get 3 bids into the NCAA tournament right now. It's because they can't they keep hurting each other, and the bad teams beating the good teams right now.
At this point, I think this conference is a joke, and that's why I was going to say fun, but then he stole my word when he said funny on the last Mad Lib, so I had to call a last-minute audible. I'm just going to say it's unpredictable, because I'll be honest with you, Duke is Charmin soft. I already said that earlier in the show. Unless it's North Carolina, any team can beat any team on any given night. Yes, even you, Kenny Payne in Louisville, who beat Miami last week. So anything is possible, just not NCAA tournament-wise, and that's why you should watch the ACC, because it is chock full of upsets.
All right, we got to go to another break. Final words, plays of the week, that's all next. Stick with us as No Pulp is back in a quick minute.
Taking care of a family member can lead to plenty of questions. Fortunately, there's a place to get the answers, for them and for you. Find articles, tips and tools from experts and others who have been in your place. The Caregiving Resource Center at aarp.org/caregiving.
Yo, camping buddy. Okay, you guys ready?
Dude, I thought you were driving.
I thought you were driving.
Oh, I never said I was driving.
I definitely can't drive. If you're high, just don't drive. It's illegal everywhere. If you feel different, you drive different.
Welcome back into No Pulp, rounding up shop here, and it's time to start with our plays of the week, and I take you no further than SEC basketball. Kentucky just got a freshman cleared right ahead of its win against Georgia. Zvonimir Ivicic, a.k.a. the Croatian sensation. Look at that behind-the-back pass. Hits Antonio Reeves. His first ever game, goes for 13 points, and picks up this beautiful dime. Know the name, Zvonimir Ivicic, Ian.
I'm not going to remember the name, but he just looks like a skinny Nikola Jokic to me. So good for John Calipari landing him. For me, I'm going to stick to the trend that Liam Griffin called me out for earlier in the show, being a homer. It is No Pulp after all. We are in Syracuse. In Syracuse men's basketball, what a win at the buzzer. You got to see what Quadir Copeland did at the end of this game. This was totally not a design play for Quadir Copeland, but Judah Mintz had 13 assists, and Quadir Copeland, who Jim Boeheim said on ACC Network later that night, not a good three-point shooter, made the shot of his life. This Orange team, could they be on Bubble Watch next month? They're getting some good wins this week.
They might be. I'll tell you a guy who had an even better win this week. I'm 20 years old, and so is Nick Dunlap, a sophomore at Alabama out of Huntsville, who just was headed back to college to keep going with his college golf career. And instead, after winning the Junior Amateur 2 years ago, winning the U.S. Amateur last year, which is already good enough, that earns you an invitation to the Masters, the U.S. Open. Well, this week he was a sponsor's exemption at the America Express Open. And then he goes on, probably just going to miss the cut 2 days in California, then go back to Titletown, Tuscaloosa. Instead, he has 2 good days, then shoots a 60 on Saturday, and then playing with Justin Thomas, one of the biggest in the world, also a Bama alum on Sunday, he goes on to win the tournament. First amateur to win since the lefty Phil Mickelson almost 40 years ago. Just 5 amateurs have won in the last 75 years. Nick Dunlap, a historic win out in La Quinta, California.
Leave it up to Andrew to bring up the only sport he's actually good at, golf, on No Pulp. For me, I'm going to bring up every sport under the sun in the NCAA. Imagine you're working at McDonald's, right? And you want to go work at Wendy's. They're paying you more money. So you go and you work at Wendy's. But then the next day, Burger King offers you more money, so you want to go to Burger King. But then Wendy's says, you can't go. That's breaking the rules. That's essentially what the NCAA wants to do. Remember Tez Walker, North Carolina wide receiver earlier this year? He barely played this year because the NCAA got in the way. And now, the Department of Justice, yes, that Department of Justice is trying to stop the NCAA from preventing athletes from transferring. It's going to be an ongoing situation. The NCAA has a lot to handle. We'll see how it unfolds, but getting political on No Pulp.
That's right. I like your analysis. I'd just go to Chick-fil-A. I think that's the go-to. But that'll do it for No Pulp. Ian Nicholas, Andrew Selover, signing off. Hope you enjoyed the show.